yes, Marvel Studios, who went from creating gold a few years ago, has now face-planted into huge vats of wank that tanked its once great name as it opened up to a measly $47 million on a production that apparently cost over $200 million. Now don't worry, I've heard math is horribly racist, so this is fighting the patriarchy or climate change or some shit, who the hell knows these days. Now I imagine someone will go, Spoon, have you ever even seen any of these movies? Nope, nor do I have any interest in seeing that crap. It was never my thing, for my healthy habit as a painter and a taste tester is a far more productive use of my time. So you're reviewing something you've never actually seen before. What do you think you are, some kind of film critic? Nope, they praise bollocks. I prefer to light it on fire and kick it down a flight of stairs. Although I suppose with this, it's more like the immolation was self-inflicted, as was the subsequent flying down the flight of stairs. Check out this headline. The Marvels faces anti-woke backlash after box office flop, echoing Captain Marvel attacks. Anti-woke. Don't you love how this is instantly made political? Whereas if you watch popular film critics, they will tell you why they dislike the films. And rarely is it ever from a political angle. No, they will just straight up say the plot sucks, it's riddled with more holes than Swiss cheese, the CGI looks like arse, and the acting is more bland than cardboard. Almost like they're film critics or something. Who'd have thought? And this is on Forbes' business page, mind you. And if this article is anything to go by, they know fuck all about culture, politics, or business for that matter. Then again, that's damn near every mainstream publication these days, and this one is no different, given that the author comes across like a memory-lapsing schizo. So let's go through some of them and point and laugh. The newest installment in the Marvel Cinematic Universe had the franchise's worst ever opening weekend at the box office, and right-wing critics are using its poor performance to criticize the profitability of female-led movies. Funny, I didn't realize recognizing female-led movies not being popular with an audience that doesn't actually exist could well result in a piss-poor box office performance, which might for some bizarre reason result in less than stellar profit margins. Recognizing this somehow requires a political affiliation apparently, which sort of implies left-wingers can't apply logic, or reasoning, or do equations. Moving on, debuting to middling reviews, it has a 62% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, though the audience score is higher at 84%. So, worst opening ever, lackluster reviews, scorched all over social media, but it somehow managed to squeak out an 84%. If anyone would like to tell me their theory as to how that is a thing, do feel free to tell me, because my only speculation is a handful of people gave it glowing praise, whereas everyone else just kind of, fucked off from this worthless dumpster fire, hence its piss-poor box office gross. Or mentioning the director as a black woman, always a red flag, both in terms of the demographic and the need to mention that, by the way. And I'll go into more detail in this in a separate video I've got planned. And then we've got more BS about it being targeted by right-wing critics, a phrase this stupid author is clearly obsessed with, seeing as it is mentioned 6 times in this short piece, as well as calling the fence-sitting Beanie Boy right-wing. So I think it's safe to say their political compass is more skewed than the sexualities at a pride parade. Now, I don't know about all of you guys, but I get the impression these people have been drowning in politics for so long, anyone that's displeased with the current sludge vomited up by our malevolent corporate overlords is somehow right-wing. I think V was right, it does appear only the right wing cares about quality. Mentioning said right-wing critics, which is more political than anything else, even though this is cultural, not political, it's just been infected with a particular toxic brand of politics no one likes because progressivism is unnatural, you idiots. Although we do have a shout out to Gary from Nerdrotic and how he calls it the MCU, which you can't say without sounding like Sean Connery, so there is at least one cultural critic. I do like how they mention the following count of everyone involved here, like it's some kind of dick-waving contest. I wonder what the author is packing for all his work, let's have a look. Pronouns in the bio, oh what a surprise, always a good indicator of loopiness. Then again, he used to work for NBC and Vox, so let's not act too shocked. Not even 800 followers, how disappointing. Since 2019, how? Heaven's sake, mine is at 619 and my account was only made in June of this year. And I'm only a small YouTuber. I love this bit though on a crucial quote. Film consultant David A. Gross told the New York Times that female-powered entertainment is enjoying extraordinary success right now, but audiences are not embracing these stories. Come again? Why would you say this? Well, why would you put this quote into the article? You're talking about the worst opening weekend for this franchise, and you include a quote touting extraordinary success, but also an aversion to it from the audience. Again, this is Forbes business. By what metric is this an extraordinary success? This isn't even tone deaf, it's just straight up stupid. And then of course we have Brie Larson, who has become one of the most insufferably irritating females in Hollywood for quite some time. For years, Larson has drawn the ire of some right-wing critics for comments she made emphasizing the need for more diversity in Hollywood. Geez, I wonder if that might have something to do with it. Couldn't possibly be because she's overcompensating for her piss-poor acting abilities and trying to maintain relevance through some other means now, could it? Oh, I do wonder. She lamented that most critics reviewing movies appeared to be overwhelmingly white males. Actually, before 2019, she said that in this 2018 piece, Reviews Matter, Brie Larson calls for more diversity in movie reviews with speech with regards to A Wrinkle in Time's critical reception, saying, "I don't need a 40-year-old white dude to tell me what didn't work about A Wrinkle in Time," Larson said. "It wasn't made for him. I want to know what it meant to insert groups I'm desperately trying to pander to over here." Talking about ending marginalization and inequalities, which frankly are just the catchphrases for the mathematically stunted, as if they can't understand demographics and personal interests create these disparities. And of course, rarely can we tell these days if they're just disingenuous or they legitimately are that stupid. Saying, "It really sucks that reviews matter, but reviews matter. Good reviews help films gross money." Honey, if your recent disastrous faceplant of a box office failure is any indication, money grossing isn't a great concern to you. Now let me just power up the Wang wisdom here and explain the logical inconsistency of her whining, seeing as she lacks that component and therefore is unable to tell that what she is saying makes very little sense, if any. But I'll be generous and say, I even understand your desire to make pandering cringe because it's the only way you can maintain any semblance of relevance, let's not kid ourselves, but complaining about the demographic of the reviewing base, yet saying they matter and you wish to force promote diversification, just comes off like you want the larger demographic of those you pander to kiss your ass as you attempt to make a circle jerk. The implication also being that the non-Euro variety have a lack of quality control, and should you just pander to them enough they will forgive all the other issues, which frankly is kind of insulting to their intelligence and depth by assuming they have none. I don't like the subversive angle she's pushing either. The mask slipped when she said it's about grossing. If she simply said she wants to know how her selected pet group of panderlings feel about all of this, then the handful of ones who do exist who might praise the subpar slop should be enough to satiate. What if she will ever realize her chosen pet panderlings aren't real? Or maybe, just maybe, they don't give a fuck. And of course, Samuel L. Jackson came out putting the L in his name, defending Larson, which definitely does not come across like simping at all, saying, "These incel dudes who hate strong women, or the fact that she's a feminist who has an opinion and expressed it, stating she's not going to let any of that stuff destroy her. We beg to differ. Yes, strong independent women, even though I need someone with a penis to defend me from trolls." Freaking cope harder. Am I the only one that finds the thought of Jackson saying incel just really bizarre? And can you harpies please drop the strong woman shtick? It's old and very, very boring, as is the predictability of your plastic responses. Here's a newsflash for you. You're not strong independent women. Hell, you regurgitate the same slogan at any hint of criticism. You don't even have independent thought, for heaven's sakes. Now, let me explain this to you. Spoon-feed you this, if you will. There is a fine line between ego and tone-deaf. There's a certain element of self-confidence in standing up to doubt and proving the doubters wrong. However, to stand there and act defiantly when there's objective metrics proving your face-planting failures over and over again, and yet you choose to ignore them? Now, not only do you look egotistical and tone-deaf, you also look insane and mentally debilitated, even more so when your reflexive fail-safe go-to excuses have nothing to do with what you're being criticized for. You're not strong independent women. You're a brittle bunch of wenches who whine and fold at the first sign of adversity. Ultimately, that's what all this pandering crap serves for them. It's a safety blanket that they can hide under in order to avoid the dreaded task of becoming better at their craft. It's like the Hollywood equivalent of calling everyone who disagrees with your politics a Nazi. Now to finish up, I want to bash the woke thing some more because it's still breathing and therefore still deserves its lumps. Recall what Drinker said in his Pandaverse episode about the right wing screaming woke at anything with a hint of diversity. A claim that seemed to stir the ire of a few people if my comment section was anything to go by. And I thought to myself, that is not entirely accurate. But how so? How does something get the label of woke exactly? Because it's not a label one wears on the lapel with a sense of pride, yes, pun intended. It's a derogatory one. Yes, we all know the labels of diversity, female inclusivity, all of that boring drivel, etc., etc. But those things in and of themselves are not toxic, given that we've had all these things in movies before for decades, yet no one cared. So why are they problematic now? Well, it's rather simple. Think of this process like you're baking a cake. All cakes have eggs, flour, and sugar, for example. But these things are just ingredients. How you blend, fold, and bake them is what makes the cake. Yet all these bakers do is tout the ingredients over and over again, as if those ingredients alone are somehow magical. But they aren't, and yet they keep repeating this methodology, cranking out subpar cakes. And after a while, the consumers can tell, hey, they're promoting the ingredients again, it's going to suck. And it's that simple. What gets any piece the label of woke is when the creators themselves tout the damn ingredients. And like I said earlier, I'll explain this in more detail in a future video. Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.